Can we just talk about this dunk by Aaron Gordon? Oh my God. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Oh, well, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and we're going on to another week of the NBA Power Rankings. And there are a lot of teams in the mediocre tier, but thankfully, you have me here to tell you who is better and who is worse. And we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up to first. Rhyming accidentally. And no surprises here. Starting at the bottom are the Detroit Pistons. These are the Cade Cunningham-less Detroit Pistons that are just in a rut, in a bad place right now. With Cade Cunningham, maybe they'd be 24 or 25th in the NBA, but right now they're just in a bad spot without their best player, former #1 overall pick. Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren are really the only bright spots that are on this team. Occasionally, Bogdanovich will play well. Sadiq Bey will have to see. Killian Hayes will have a random, oh my God, this guy's the future of the NBA game, and then kind of disappear back into the fold of, is he even worth playing or starting or coming off the bench as a point guard? So the Pistons are just playing really bad basketball at this point. One spot ahead of them who's going to jump up over them is the team that's been jockeying for this worst spot in the NBA for a while now, the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball is back, and top to bottom, the roster is weird. But the big note, the major point of, I guess, concern, or maybe not, is that Miles Bridges might be coming back to the Charlotte Hornets. They're talking about making a contract extension. Of course, Miles Bridges is going to be out for some undetermined time because of the, what was it, felony, no contest, whatever, something. He hit his girlfriend, let's be honest with you. So Miles Bridges is going to be out, but he may be coming back to Charlotte. And think about it, if they do happen to hit on the sweepstakes, they do happen to get the #1 overall pick. Currently, they are one of the worst teams in the NBA. Let's say they get rid of Steve Clifford, bring in Victor Wembanyama. You have LaMelo Ball. You still got Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward. Hopefully, you can flip that contract into something that's actually usable. And then maybe some of the young guys come along as well. JT Thor, Kai Jones, James Bouknight. You got Jaden McDaniels or Jalen McDaniels. I never remember which one they have on each team. And you got PJ Washington, who's starting to take a few steps. Not quite a superstar player by no means, but he's playing a little bit better basketball. And you got Mark Williams sitting in the G League, maybe to replace Mason Plumlee for once and for all. Maybe be the backup center. I'm just saying, the Charlotte Hornets theoretically have a way out of this horrible spot in the NBA, but it all starts with winning the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. Number 28 is going to be no movement for the San Antonio Spurs. Now, I've been toying with this because I have the Rockets at number 27, 9-23 record, even though they're worse win-loss total. You look at the point differential, the Spurs are the worst in the NBA. You look at the talent, the Spurs are the worst in the NBA. You just look at everything top to bottom. Theoretically, the Rockets have higher upside. Now, do they go out and perform? And is Stephen Silas the right guy for the job? Probably not. The Rockets always seem to go on these brutal losing streaks where they just lose and lose and lose. And then they'll beat a random team like the Suns or the Bucks for no reason. And then they'll lose and lose and lose and lose. So there's a lot of work to be done with the Houston Rockets. That said, Jabari Smith has started to play a little bit better. Jalen Green always eligible to pop off for 30 points a night. Kevin Porter Jr. plays. Dyson Nix needs to get fired, but I like the Rockets. I think they have more talent, and I'm going to have them still sitting ahead of the San Antonio Spurs in spite of the win difference. And that's the tier of the we're taking for Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. You may notice a few teams have jumped out of the tier of taking for Victor Wembanyama, and that doesn't mean that these teams aren't bad. That just means that they haven't quite thrown in the towel. They're still going to make a run at the playoffs, maybe a play-in tournament seeding. So this is the tier of bad teams, but not awful. Oh my God, please turn off the TV level of bad. And at the bottom of this tier, dropping down 5 spots, no surprises, is the Los Angeles Lakers. And I'm just mean, yikes. Who knew that Anthony Davis was this important? We all knew that Anthony Davis was important. Don't get me wrong. Everybody in the world saw that Anthony Davis was the best player, or should be the best player, on the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James is 8,000 years old. Russ obviously has his problems. The entire roster construction outside of Austin Reeves is abysmal. How many freaking point guards do they need on this goddamn team? It makes no sense. The NBA is all about 3-and-D wings. Look at the Clippers are doing with getting every single 3-and-D player that's ever played basketball. But no, the Lakers said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go and get Patrick Beverley. We're going to get Russell Westbrook. We're going to get Dennis Schroeder. We're going to get Austin Reeves. We're going to get Lonnie Walker. They don't have anybody that's taller than 6'4" or 6'5". It's just beyond stupid. LeBron is too old at this point to do anything other than stat pad, and I'm starting to see it a little bit more. I always watch those Skip Bayless podcasts where he's like, LeBron is stat padding at the end of games, and I'm starting to see it, man. He's still in with like 4 minutes left. They're down by 70, and he's still out there going like flexing, making and-one layups while nobody else is trying, and I go, do the Lakers really care about winning? Does LeBron really care as much as he does about getting that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar record? I don't know anymore. but one spot ahead of them is going to be the Orlando Magic, and it's nice to see them jumping up out of this tier. They're finally starting to get a little bit healthy. Cole Anthony came back. He's their fire starter off the bench. And of course, Markelle Fultz, their point guard. They finally play with the point guard, and they're playing some damn good basketball. Paulo Banchero has, of course, been great. Bol has been showing flashes. I mean, who would have thought Bol was anything more than just a bust? Jamal Mosley starting to look like a decent head coach. I don't know if he's the answer to putting them over the top winning a championship, but the Magic just playing good right now, and I got to bump them up out of the tier of horrible ahead of teams that are trying to play basketball. The Orlando Magic are coming in at 25, and they have the potential to jump up, maybe start making the playoffs. You never know. Coming in ahead of them with the exact same record, no movement, is the Washington Wizards. And look, when the Wizards are healthy, they are a furiously 500 team. And that means with Delon Wright, that means with Rui Hachimura, of course, Kristaps Porzingis, Bradley Beal, whatever. But at the end of the day, man, the Wizards, it's frustrating. That's all I can say. Next up is the Oklahoma City Thunder. And look, they've been playing some 500 basketball, and they've been playing teams tough. They played the Blazers a couple times, the Pelicans, the Timberwolves, the Grizzlies. It hasn't always been pretty, but I'm finally going to send some love to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Of course, you got the most clutch player right now in the NBA in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander getting the buckets in the fourth quarter. Josh Giddey has been okay. J-Dub has been good. I don't like the roster. I don't like the head coach. I'm being completely honest. That's why I have them so low. That's why I've been hesitant to put them higher than where they are. That's why I've been putting them at the bottom of these tiers, because I just don't love the Thunder right now as a winning organization. But of course, when you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you're going to be a pretty good basketball team. And that's the secret of the NBA. At the end of the day, it's all about those superstars. And they got one in SGA. Vote for him to be an all-star. One spot ahead of them is the Chicago Bulls, who just seem to find themselves in these close game-winning games all the time. And look, DeMar DeRozan is a bucket in the fourth quarter when you need him. It's not always. He can't carry a team. He can't carry a franchise. But man, is he cold as ice. And the Bulls are winning a couple of games, 3-0 on the week. This is just exactly what they've been needed. Now, is it a sustainable formula to win, to get down to the wire and hope that your team makes more plays than the other team? No, they're still a pretty bad team at 14-18, and they still don't have their first round pick, which is a little funny that they have similar records to the Orlando Magic. But the Bulls did go 3-0 on the week. Got to show them a little bit of love. And that is the final tier of this. These teams are playing really bad basketball. Tier gap. The next tier, and you may notice this, 21 through 7, is called the what the fuck is the NBA tier, because right now, at this point in the season, man, every single team has basically the same number of wins. I mean, I'm just going right now to, every team is probably within 3 or 4 wins. So let's just start with, we'll go Boston has 24, Milwaukee 22, Denver has 21, Cleveland is 22, and then Brooklyn has 21. And then you go Pelicans 20, Grizzlies 20, 76ers 20, Suns 19, Clippers 19, Kings 17, Jazz 19, Knicks 18, Mavericks 18, Hawks 17, Pacers 17, Blazers 17, Heat 16, Timberwolves 16, Golden State Warriors 16, Raptors 15, Bulls 14. I mean, between 16 and 20 is almost every other team in the NBA right now. The NBA is in a weird spot. There's a ton of parity. There's nobody that's really separating themselves from the pack. So this is the tier of what the hell is happening. Starting at the bottom of this tier is going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves, bumping them up a spot. I know they only went 1-2 on the week, but they're playing a little bit better basketball. Of course, no Karl Anthony Towns, but Anthony Edwards has been balling out. He's been running the point guard for them a little bit. D'Angelo Russell hasn't quite been a bust, which he will be future later on down in the season. Naz Reid has been a beast for them, and they've just been playing a little bit better basketball on both sides of the court. They're finally playing a little bit of defense, which was their calling card last year, which is, it's a little bizarre why they've been so bad to start this year. But hey, playing some good basketball, giving some love to the Minnesota Timberwolves. One spot ahead of them is going to be the Raptors, 2-1 on the week. Man, I've been toying with dropping them down. I've been toying with bumping them up. I'm gonna hold them right here, because on any given night, the Toronto Raptors can go out and just slaughter another team. And that's a secret about basketball. We talk about football any given Sunday. Basketball is any given weekday. And the Raptors have the capacity for Fred VanVleet to pop off, for Pascal Siakam to drop 50 on you, and for Scotty Barnes to play great, give you a stat stuff and triple-double of like 25 points and 15 assists and 12 rebounds and 2 steals and 2 blocks. They've got theoretically a good enough roster here, but it's consistency with the Toronto Raptors that they just can't find, because they don't have that superstar. They got a whole bunch of streaky players like Gary Trent Jr., Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby that aren't going to give you consistent scoring, and it's just a bit of a worry, as well as the fact that Nick Nurse plays 4 people every single game. Oh my God, can this man jump and dive into his bench rotation a little bit? You're in December and you're playing these guys playoff minutes. It's head scratching. One spot ahead of them is the Miami Heat, and they're also in a weird spot. Went 3-0, or did they go 4-0 last week to get to 500? Then went 0-2 in this week. At the end of the day, we know what the Heat are. Offense comes tough to them. Jimmy's a little bit older, so he's going to sit out games. He's only going to play 25 minutes, maybe 30 a night, sit out at least half of the fourth quarter when you need him the most. Tyler Hero, is he that dude? Sometimes he is, sometimes he isn't. The rest of the team is Heat culture. So the Heat are the Heat right now, sitting at 19th, one game under 500. Golden State Warriors are going to drop down 2 spots, and without Steph Curry, life's tough. It is what it is. James Wiseman has been playing a little bit better basketball, and we all thought he was a bust. They tried to trade him away for Jakob Poeltl and didn't get anything. So, hey, maybe the NBA is going to regret not trying to trade for James. Hopefully he balls out. I believed in him. Big men in the draft are always a little tough to grade. So hindsight 2020, yeah, you want LaMelo Ball. But originally when it happened, the only player that the Golden State Warriors needed was an athletic big man who could stretch the floor a little bit. And James Wiseman was literally everything they needed with the Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green lineups. And it's been completely frustrating, but hey, maybe James has turned a corner, started to show that he's an NBA player for once in his goddamn life instead of just killing it in the G League against, who do they play? Freaking Santa Clara? Whatever. Pacers gonna jump up a spot because they got the wannabe all-star. And no disrespect to Wally Szczerbiak, the player. He was a really good role player, comparable to what maybe Tobias Harris is for those who didn't watch his game. He ran second with MVP Kevin Garnett, 40% three-point shooter back when nobody shot the three. One-time All-Star, averaged 20 points per game in 2005. But calling Tyrese Halliburton a wannabe All-Star has done wonders for his fuck you confidence. And in the grind of the 82-game season, Tyrese Halliburton, who's been pretty good this year, but let's face it, inconsistent with his play, has started balling out, dropped like 30 and 40 respectively. And great players, they always find a reason to step up their game. And I hope Tyrese Halliburton keeps coming, because the Pacers were in a little bit of a rut. They were in that grind of, man, we got to go out and play again. Ben Mathurin starting to hit the rookie wall. And then Tyrese Halliburton said, nah, I got this. Put the team on his back, showed Wally Szczerbiak that he ain't no bitch. And I'm just really impressed with how the Pacers have been playing as of late. One spot ahead of them is the Atlanta Hawks, going to jump up one spot with Dejounte Murray coming back from injury. The Hawks are just in a weird spot. They're in that pivotal point of the season where you decide, all right, we're going to go all in. We're going to say fuck them picks, and we're going to try and bring in some more talent. Trae Young, Dejounte Murray, they're going to be the key that we build this team around. Hopefully John Collins shows up. Hopefully DeAndre Hunter shows up, and the rest of the team, we know what they are. Are they going to say, no, this team isn't good enough to win a championship? We got to make some serious moves. We got to trade away Trae Young. We got to trade away John Collins. We got to go in a different direction. This roster as presently constructed isn't good enough to win a championship. Maybe they need a change of head coaches as well. So this is a really pivotal, important part of the season for the Hawks, sitting here right at 500 while they've gone all in. They've traded away picks for the next 4 or 5 years for DeJounte Murray. Right now sitting at one game over 500, 16th in the power rankings. One spot ahead of them is the Utah Jazz. And I'm dropping them down a spot, even though they went 2-1 on the week, because at the end of the day, man, they're the Jazz. They don't have good players on the team. I don't know how else to explain it. They win through effort and three-point shooting. And that's a formula for winning some games, but it's not a formula for winning a championship. I don't really know what the season prospects are for the Utah Jazz. I don't really know what they're trying to do other than make the playoffs and be a first-round exit, but they play hard. You got to give love to Jordan Clarkson. Lauri Markkanen is probably going to be someone you want to try to build around in the future, but the rest of the team, you just blow it up, man. That said, Will Hardy, still coach of the year. Bringing this worst NBA roster ever to middle of the pack is just such an impressive feat, and I love watching them. I love rooting for them. Jazz going to sit here at 15th. One spot ahead of them is the Portland Trail Blazers, 0-3 on the week. I'm only going to drop them down one spot. I hate to overreact when teams start to play bad here or start to play good here, so theoretically, the Blazers, you could put them at 20. You could put them at 10. It's all dependent on, if Damian Lillard is healthy or not. The rest of the team, I don't really know if they're good enough to compete in the playoffs, and that's why my big concern with the Blazers was they're going to be okay. They started with that super hot start. I think they went 6-0 or something. Then Dame got hurt. Then he came back, and they went 4-1 or something. But the Blazers they're just frustratingly mediocre. I don't know how else to explain it. Shout out my guy Keon Johnson, though. Really big fan of him in the draft. Fell to, I think, pick 20, 22, went to the LA Clippers and got traded for the Norman Powell swap. He's been playing really good basketball as of late, but the Blazers are, unfortunately, right back to where they were with CJ McCollum, where they got Damian Lillard, who's going to be that dude, your number one. Is the supporting cast good enough? And CJ McCollum wasn't. He's a streaky, undersized scorer. And now they have Anthony Simons replacing him as a streaky, undersized scorer. Just a really, really bad break for the Blazers. And in the NBA, there's no trade finder. You can't just go, all right, instead of Anthony Simons, we're going to trade for RJ Barrett. And then bam, you make the flip. And then the players take off and start to become superstars and their potential is 99. No, that's just not how it works in the NBA. The Blazers, once again, stuck. Jeremy Grant starting to regress back to the mean. Yusuf Nurkic has been fine. I mean, it's the Blazers. We're stuck again, but they are fun to watch. Hopefully Shaedon Sharpe maybe shows a little more promise. He hasn't been playing all that good basketball as of late. Blazers, 14th. Clippers going to come in at 13th, and I know you look at their record, they're 19 and 15, and you're saying, why are they down here? Maybe you should put them in the top 10, and I just can't put them there yet because they don't care about the regular season. They don't care about winning basketball games. As long as you are a top 6 seed, they're not going to give a damn about how the regular season goes. Look no further than how many games Kawhi Leonard has played. So at any given day, they're going to sit their entire bench and bring out Moses Brown and Moussa Diabate and Jason Preston, and then in the other game, they're going to play Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and Markieff Morris and John Wall and Reggie Jackson. So the Clippers just don't really care about the regular season. I'm fine with that. I like them. I don't love them yet. Their offense is horrible. I think they have one of the worst offensive ratings in the league respective to their win total, but they're playing solid fundamental basketball. Just need to get back to doing what they do best. I'm going to keep them at 13th with the opportunity to jump up a few spots. They have a good couple of weeks, go on a run, start maybe winning basketball games. You never know. Knicks going to come in 1 spot ahead of them, dropping down 2 spots after I made that major Knicks correction. They went on 2 consecutive major win streaks. I think they went 4-0 and then 3-0. And then they've been struggling. Jalen Brunson is dealing with some ankle issues. He's not missing any games, but it's definitely a major point of concern. He went out last week, somewhere in the middle of the win streak with an ankle injury, went out last game with another ankle injury. And because he's the number 1 player on this team, he's the point guard that they've been looking for. And Julius Randle doesn't have to do as much as playing. He's able to play his game instead of trying to be Superman. The Knicks were playing good basketball. That was their formula. JB's your number 1. Julius Randle's your number 2. RJ Barrett can just settle into that number 3, 4 option, have no expectations whatsoever, and just play good fundamental basketball. The rest of the role players on their team are good enough to win. Tom Thibodeau, good enough head coach, but if JB is out, that's going to be a major point of concern for the New York Knicks. Not going to knock them too much. Of course, they did go 7-0, so sitting right here at 12, dropping down only 2 spots. And I got the Mavericks ahead of them. 3-1 on the week. The Mavericks are what the Mavericks are. They've been playing good basketball lately. Unfortunately for them, nothing comes easy. I still think Jason Kidd needs to go. Luka needs to play with somebody he respects. Right now, he's not playing with much joy. I'd say this about the Warriors as well. There's just no smiling. There's no happiness going on in the Mavericks whenever they play basketball games. Everything comes down to the wire. There's constant mistakes, missed open threes, and Luka Doncic has to be God for them to win basketball games. And 1 spot ahead of them, finally getting into the top 10, is the Sacramento Kings. And they're just coming down a little bit, coming back down to earth, really. They played a few less games than everybody, so their win total isn't as high as the other teams that are in this tier, but they're 17 and 14, 1-2 on the week. They've started to get blown out. And like I said a couple of videos ago, this is the point where you have to determine where you're going to go in this season. You're going to turn this thing around, look at these ugly losses where you lose by 20 or 30 points and say, we can play better basketball than that, fix some of your flaws and go on a run. Domantas Sabonis has an injury, so that may be throwing some of this up in the air. Or are they going to say, you know what, this team isn't good enough, let's blow it up yet again? Kings are in a weird spot. That said, they've been playing really good basketball. You take some of those losses at the beginning of the season, they're easily a 20-win team at this point. So I like the Kings. Don't love them. Only going to fall down 1 spot. We're going to see where they go with that Sabonis right hand injury. Suns are going to fall down a spot as well. And the Suns are just they're so weird at this point. They can never have their big 3 healthy. Either Cliff Paul is out, or Devin Booker is out, or DeAndre Ayton is out, or any 2 of those 3 are out at the same time. They just cannot get healthy. Of course, Cam Johnson has been gone, but they're just a really steady, methodical team, and that's going to keep them at 9th, even though they've been losing a lot of basketball games lately. Now, the big issue for them is that Cliff Paul looks washed. He just looks like an old man out there. He can't score anymore. He doesn't score anymore. That Cliff Paul 4th quarter mentality, it just ain't there. So that's something that you got to worry about when you're rooting for these teams. Just as well, Devin Booker's hamstrings cannot seem to stay healthy. I don't know what it is about him and lower leg injuries. It's not like he tears an ACL. He just always misses like 2 weeks with some sort of hamstring injury and then comes back and drops 40 on you. So that's frustrating. DeAndre Ayton, he's been streaky with his bully ball. Sometimes you're like, oh my God, DeAndre Ayton, former number 1 overall pick, he has arrived. And then you go, DA, where are you? You keep missing free throws. Really close game, really fun game last night going against the Denver Nuggets, but they are going to jump up, and I'm finally going to give them a little bit of respect. 21-11, 3-0 on the week, jumping up 4 spots. The Denver Nuggets are good. I don't love them yet. At the end of the day, Nikola Jokic is always a defensive liability. The entire team has to rotate and shift the defense just to make up for his problems that he has 0 lateral foot speed whatsoever. So that's a point of concern. Michael Porter Jr. is always going to be missing games with some sort of injury. Who knows what's going to happen? His back, his leg, his knee. Anytime at any game, Michael Porter Jr. is prone to be injured. And on top of that, when he's healthy, he's just not all that good. He's kind of like David Bertans at this point. He runs around screens, takes ridiculous off-balance three-point shots. Occasionally, he'll have a streaky good game, but Michael Porter Jr. has been pretty disappointing. Jamal Murray is starting to come back, and he's looking like that former dude that we loved. He's got that swag back to him. He's making these ridiculous shots. He's looked great. Aaron Gordon, oh my God, that dunk. And the rest of the team is okay. They still play DeAndre Jordan. That's a problem. I think Mike Malone has taken himself off the hot seat for now. But the Nuggets, I don't have trust. I don't have faith in them. Every time in the playoffs, they always come up short. I like the Nuggets. I just don't love them. So I'm going to put them outside looking in of this tier of championship caliber teams. But they have got a great record. I think they're number 1 in the West right now, and they're playing damn good basketball as well. And this is the tier of what I call legitimate title contenders. And this year's NBA season is really wonky. There's no team that's putting themselves head and shoulders above everybody else, especially at this point with the Celtics going on kind of a rough patch through their season. But starting at the bottom of here is the Brooklyn Nets. And who would have thought at the beginning of the season, the Nets would be here, 21-12, legitimate title contenders. But here they are, just continuing to win basketball games. Kevin Durant is that dude, and the role players are playing great basketball, and having an actual head coach is just night and day. You can see why everybody was so frustrated with Steve Nash being the head coach pick for, who is it? Joseph Tsai. Who's the Nets GM? They always talk about him. Whatever. Nets, damn good basketball right now. I just can't put them ahead of other teams like the 76ers. And even the Sixers, they had a really rough start to the season. Everybody wanted to fire Doc Rivers, and now they're starting to win games. James Harden wants to leave because he's playing good basketball. I don't know what the hell's going on with that, but James Harden to the Houston Rockets confirmed. Regardless, this season in the NBA, James Harden's playing good. Joel Embiid's playing good. Tyrese Maxey going to be coming back from injury. 76ers continue to win basketball games, and they were my pick in the preseason to win everything, win the MVP, win the Finals MVP, and win the championship. So I'm going to have them at 6 here, but I just can't put them ahead of teams who didn't start so ugly in the NBA season, like the Grizzlies at 5. 20-12, 1-2 on the week. Not great, not terrible. They're very similar, I would say, in talent-wise to the Denver Nuggets, and I think they're a flawed superpower. Ja Morant, I'm always going to be worried about his knees and his injuries. He seems to be sitting a few more games than he used to earlier in his career. Just some of the miles are starting to come back on him. Dylan Brooks is streaky. Zaire Williams just hasn't been all that we wanted him to be. But Jaren Jackson Jr. has started to arrive, and the rest of the team is playing good basketball, and Desmond Bane is finally back from injury. They got their number 2, their dog. Love to see that. Number 4 is going to be the New Orleans Pelicans. And I got to drop them down another spot. Ever since we agreed the Pelicans were good and they were the best team in the Western Conference, they've been struggling. And look, you don't have your best scorer, Brandon Ingram, for God knows how long. You're going to have a problem. Now Zion gets COVID, you got another problem. And that forces CJ McCollum to be your number 1 option. I don't care how much depth you have. I don't care how good your head coach is. I don't care if you've got the best players in the NBA if they're not playing. This was a problem with the Pelicans. It's never been a question of their total talent. Top to bottom, you put them in a 2K game, you go, oh my God, this team has everything you want. But they can't stay healthy, and they can't keep their guys on the court, and CJ McCollum just isn't good enough to carry the rest of the team. So they're going to fall down a spot here. No disrespect, they're still sitting at the 4th seed. Cleveland Cavaliers are going to jump up and take that spot. They've just been steady, been consistent, been winning basketball games. Donovan Mitchell should at least be the bottom tier of the MVP race because he has been a revelation for the Cavs, and he's been balling the hell out. And then no surprises at 2-1. I got the Bucks and the Celtics respectively. A lot of people are going to be trying to bring down the Bucks, and they've just been struggling without Chris Middleton, going 1-3 on the week, losing a lot of winnable basketball games and look like a flawed superpower. And it is what it is. They're 22-11 in the grind of the NBA season. Chris Middleton just can't seem to get on the basketball court. Once he does, I expect the Bucks to pick it back up. But the Celtics, still the best team in the NBA. No surprises, 24-10. That's going to do it for me. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you agree with, what you disagree with, and I'll catch you in the next one.